Well, it's Halloween, and Patrick Mahomes is ready to go off like Michael Myers on the rest of this NFL, so much that my whole camera is shaking. Welcome to the show. This is RGR Football. I'm Ryan. This is me going rogue, particularly tonight because it's Halloween, and Dan's out with the little one. My kids are a little bit older, so I don't have to hit the trick-or-treat circuit here for a little bit. But Patrick might be out there stalking somebody right now because the whole league is nervous about what this can do. When you take a big step back and take a look at what the Chiefs have done so far this season, it all comes down to this. He could have a record season in terms of yardage down in Miami with a quarterback that is in very friendly terms, 2/3 of what Patrick can do. Not even. Let's call it half. Patrick was supposed to be going down the tubes without Tyreek around, right? He's gotten to this point. He's leading the league in yardage per throw. He's doing all these things that they said he wasn't going to be able to do. Now they add Kadarius Toney on top of it. Tonight, we just found out an hour ago, Chiefs are adding Daz Newsome to the practice squad. That's how deep this wide receiver core is. And that's why Patrick's ready to go off and start dropping some bombs, dealing those dimes like only he can. It was kind of a feel it out process to get to the bye week. And now it's all, I don't even know how to put it the best way. Like I can't, I almost cussed there. It's all engines full throttle from here on out. Now, that doesn't mean that it's all passing. I do think that they still need to maintain some discipline and some run in their offense. But man, there is just so much now as they add weapon after weapon after weapon. Yes, I think we'll talk about the defense tonight. It is Q&A night around here, folks, so I will answer your questions here in just a little bit. Just want to get the topic of the night off and running because they have to try to do something to slow him down because the Chiefs just keep adding options for him. And as that goes on, it's just going to get harder and harder for anybody to slow him down. It can be done, don't get me wrong, but they have to make sure that they do it in a way that makes sense. Now, the Chiefs still have some work they can do. They could add another weapon. We'll talk about that coming up because I'm sure there'll be questions about it. A lot of old friends here in the chat. Nice to see you guys. Glad you're here. If you are new to us, this is what I do on Monday night. It's Q&A. Sometimes I'm joined by one of the crew. Sometimes I'm not. Shout out to FLDB because he's in the chat right now. Won't be here all night, but say hello to our newest moderator. I don't think Aaron or Liz can make it, and Stevie looks like he's going to make it as well. So say hi to everybody. We're going to get into your questions. That's what Monday night is. I'll answer your Q&A. Just put some question marks at the beginning of your question. If you want to help the channel out, buy some gear in the gear store. Leave us a super chat. If you super chat tonight, I guarantee you'll get an answer. If you buy gear, I'll help you get a little bit of back and forth going as well. If you want to become a member, that certainly helps, and that'll get you into the Discord, the RGR Nation Discord that Stevie and Gooch and Aaron and FLDB have built to service this community, this group right here, diehard Chiefs fans that want to talk not just about what they like and what they don't, but how the game works. I am an old coach. If you don't know me, you've never been on this channel before. I'm an old strength and conditioning and performance coach. I've coached the game some. I've coached at the college level. I've never been a pro coach. I've interned a little bit from here and there, but that was a long time ago. I am now an independent consultant for the league, for a bunch of people around it, and I do this for fun because this is what I want to do. It's great because covering this team in particular allows me to answer all these questions because there's always something going on with this team. So far that I've stacked up as I'm talking here, probably 30 questions already. So we have plenty to talk about tonight. But the bottom line is whatever happens in the next 24 hours, and that's to the trade deadline, could be another weapon, could be somebody on defense to hunt the other quarterback, I hope. A lot of things go into that. But the bottom line comes back to whatever you do, it's Patrick's time to start dialing it up, and he's going to start dropping those dimes that I put on the thumbnail because that's how I'm feeling right now is Toney. It might take him a little bit. I'm sure we'll talk about that tonight as well. But when they add him and they get Watson a little bit more involved, like they have so many weapons at this point that it doesn't just have to be Travis and a player. It doesn't have to be Juju and Travis, although I really like the combination that's coming there. It's just going to be too much to really overcome. So as long as they take care of their business, I am even more so than I was the other night on Locked On Chiefs, where we did the rundown of the rest of the season. I'm even more so tonight feeling like the only team that can beat Kansas City is Kansas City. Bottom line. So we're going to get into it. That said, I'm going to stack up the rest of the questions that I see right now for you super chatters. I will definitely get you an answer, so feel free to drop those as well. Good to see you, Gregory, Madman. Let's see, Nightbot. Okay, here's the full experience for the Discord. You guys just join the memberships here at this link. It's in the chat. You can copy and paste that as well. Or there should be a join button somewhere down here, and that will get you added. So when you go to Discord, you're already one of us, and you should be in there. Just got to connect your YouTube account with your Discord account so they can recognize each other. So that said, let's get into the questions. This is where I started. Jeremy was the first one in. Welcome, Jeremy. He's one of our members. Got a trick or treat with the fam. So do I later. So I'll miss the live show, but Ryan, it's Halloween. What's the scariest thing about the Chiefs this year? And that's that this has been a frustrating 7 weeks. They're still 5-2, and they're right in the hunt. They could be markedly better here in a month. They could be unstoppable, like I said last night in the breakdown show, in 2 months from now. They could be going into December or January completely driving the bus, not only in the AFC, but in the NFL. That's on the table. Steven, do you regret not trading for Saquon Barkley early in the season? No, not at all. Good for him for having a revival season. I'm not giving up any more trade assets for a running back, period. Right now, everybody's up in arms because they think Pacheco should be the starter. He's a 7th-round pick. I'm not giving up anything top 100 for any running back ever. If it were me, I might not even take another running back in the top 100 ever. I can be talked into that in certain levels, but certainly not a first rounder. So no, I don't care. Honestly, he'd be wasted, Steven, because Andy wouldn't run it enough to make it work. It's just not what they want to do. Let's see, another one from Steven. Does Veach have another move to make before the trade deadline? He absolutely does. I just heard this morning through a source that I trust that there has been more than one call about Josh Allen. I don't know if it's gone anywhere because he wouldn't give me that kind of detail. But it wasn't just one call and, oh, it's not going to work, we're done. Hey, we tried. No, it's been at least a conversation. Now, also, from what I understand, is there's been some talk with the Washington football team Commanders. Sorry, I keep forgetting their name. So I do think something else is possible. Andy said today that, hey, we might get another guy. It'll come down in the 24th hour. Well, the 24th hour started an hour or two ago. So we're into that zone. I won't be surprised if something else does happen. It'll be later tonight or maybe even in the morning. I don't think they'll run right up to the deadline, but I think you could see another move happen. Jonathan, only roughly 3.6 million people left in cap space with remaining free agent trades prospect. Who would you guys rather go after the trade deadline tomorrow? I personally would go after a pass rusher. I agree. And that means it's got to be a guy on a rookie contract. So that's Allen, that's Burns. I think Sweat's still on a rookie contract. Yep. They think that they're going to get Chase Young practicing in Washington this week. So I don't think they're going to move him. I just don't feel it. I know Payne's been a popular target, but I don't think they're going to move him either. So I think that's all just, good fits, but long shots that I don't think are going to pan out, to tell you the truth. Let's see, grabbing more of the questions, and then we'll get back to answering them because, I'm kind of excited tonight. So I'm going a little bit quick, I hope. And there's plenty of you guys asking them. So hold on with me just a minute, and we will get there. And Laddie's in the house. Everybody say hi to Laddie and check out Arrowhead 1 from him. Thanks, Laddie. Appreciate you. Would a new DE really be of help this year? I actually think that it would, because especially if you're talking about third down, where you'll see Spags kind of widen his defensive ends on third down. Pass rush is pass rush. So especially if it's somebody that has a couple of years, like if it's a second-year player, maybe not. If it's Allen, who's played good snaps and gotten some production in this league and has the experience to go with it, you can move him out and say, you're rushing from a wide nine, go hunt the guy. And if it's Josh Allen, he's played him before. If it's, the Niners, they played him before. So that goes a long way, I think, in making that even more so like an appealing action, because those things you can go do. Now, setting the edge is a different thing. We don't give Frank Clark enough credit in that he is elite for a defensive end in setting the edge against the run. And so both those guys need a little bit of work to continue to get up to that level. But yeah, I do think it would make a difference this year, Laddie. I'm not 100% what the impact would be. I would think that Allen should still be able to get another 4 or 5 sacks. You pair that with Carlos and Frank. You can let those guys kind of mature and hold off big snaps for them until later in the year. And then you have a really fresh rotation. The next 2 weeks are going to be important for George Karlaftis too. He's got to show something that he cannot just pressure the pocket and help everybody else get sacks. He's actually got to get home and get his finish rate up. You guys have seen me talk about the 3 tiers of pass rush. I always point that out. And I'm going to have a piece on NFL 33 this week for what's going on in the college ranks. But the nice thing is Karlaftis is producing a ton of pressure. His finish rate just isn't there yet. He will get there. I am confident that he eventually will be a guy that can get to the quarterback and secure him. Got one from Finn. I'll get that ready. Going down the list. Bert's here. Oregon Fishing is here. Okay, we got plenty. Here we go. So thank you, Laddie. Appreciate the support, bud. Jonathan, we answered this one. Sorry. That's how I got off on that tangent. Jay, more upside, Sky or Tony? Sky's has the releases in the route running. KT doesn't run as clean routes, but he has unique movement skills. Yeah, it's the difference for me is that I think Sky's a little bit better before the catch. I think Tony's a little bit better after the catch because of that ability to change direction. He is better and has better short area quickness than Sky does. But I really like that combination. And when you think ahead, it could be Sky and he, maybe Juju, maybe MVS going forward. McColl might price himself out of Kansas City pretty rapidly, to tell you the truth. You could have to move on from Juju or MVS. I think one of those guys will stick. But there's a lot there. And so you're building this ability to still have athleticism, whether it's in short area quickness or the ability after the catch, that you're still going to be okay, so that this revolving door can continue to spin and you're going to have talent. So I feel really good about it, to tell you the truth. Christo, how much does McDuffie coming back make us better? Quite a bit. Because it takes what is L'Jarius. Watson's been playing pretty well. Josh has been coming along, but he is definitely down here with Fenton. McDuffie's up here. So it's not that he's going to take the ball away a ton. He didn't do that in college. I think he will eventually. But it raises your floor of how many completions you allow, how many big plays you allow, the chunks. I think it raises it pretty significantly, 30, 40%, to tell you the truth. It is going to take a little bit of time. Had he been able to play this whole time and had been developing, they'd be set to go. As it is, he's going to be a little bit behind the curve. They didn't target him in week 1, so clearly you can tell that his phases mirror his assignment understanding was there. As he goes forward, that should continue. He should have taken a ton of mental reps, so that part should be there. It'll just be shaking off the rust, getting physical, getting back into football shape, and I think that'll be okay. But by, say, December, I think is when you're going to see him round into shape, and then it's on. Then you're peaking for the run up to the postseason, and certainly in the postseason. Thanks, Christo. Oregon, thank you. Would you be happy if they somehow were able to get Buckner versus a DE? Both he and Jones demand double teams and could be held to pressure to sacks for the entire D line. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Then that takes the impetus off of Karlaftis, because then you absolutely have to double team both the interior guys. You can't do double team Chris and let everybody else go one-on-one because you don't think you can beat him. Because if you let Buckner do that, he'll beat you. So you're going to have to give more attention. You're going to have to keep 6 in. You're going to have to chip more. You're going to have to use your tight ends. So I agree. And here's the interesting thing. Chris has been making some plays at defensive end. So can Buckner. So you have this Morpheus kind of front where you can run NASCAR with Chris. You can run NASCAR with Darius. With Butler. I got Leonard in my head for some reason. You can do it with any of them, and you can put them in whatever spot you want. You can vary it, and that gives you those matchups. You know those games where you're like, hey, on paper, these guys shouldn't be winning. How did they pull this off? Or how did this team not smash this other team? It's because of the individual matchups that give guys trouble, whether it's length, whether it's handwork. There's always little things that change the one-on-ones that make up the bigger whole. And that's what Buckner does. I'd love to see those two together. I just can't see Ballard letting him go. He went and got him on very much on purpose. I just don't see it. I'd love it if it happened. Anyone else heard the Chiefs called about Josh Allen? Yep, we've confirmed that in a couple of ways. I think the media's confirmed it now as well, and I've heard it through a couple of people. More upside. Okay, got that one. Let's see. Maddock. What were your thoughts on Daz Newsome in the 2021 draft? I want to say is a mid-round pick, and I thought that he had some nice upside. Now, Miami got all the attention in North Carolina, right? But Daz has a good Senior Bowl. I liked his film in that I don't think he can be a 1, but I think he can be a 2. He certainly can be a 3. I just think he's got to get in a system that allows him to learn specific things at a pace that allows him to use his talents to its utmost. I just don't think that's happened for him before. So I'm kind of excited about that. That's a really sneaky good practice squad addition. How does the depth chart look now with Tony? That's a great question, Christo. And we won't know, honestly, until he starts practicing. He's been given the playbook. As I understand, he got the playbook on the plane. Like as soon as it was done, before the physical and everything. So you took a chance there. You gave a guy a playbook who, if he doesn't pass the physical and he's had injuries, he's got your playbook and now he's not yours. Like that was a risk. So I think that tells you just how excited they are and what his potential is. But in terms of what it is right now, it is still Juju, MVS, Hardman, Sky, Kadarius. That would be my guess. I don't know that he can. I don't know if he's right there with Watson even. Watson has a very narrow package of plays. Sky knows way more of the offense. So it's a race to see how much can Kadarius learn and how much is that applicable that goes beyond what Sky's learned. In some ways, Sky's going to be ahead of him just because he's had some reps. But also, Sky's so new in the league, Kadarius got some advantage there as well. He should be able to absorb it faster. Daboll's not Andy Reid, but he's not a simplistic play caller either. So there should be some carryover there. He's worked with Mike Kafka. I have to think that there's some inputs there that are going to be similar. It's not the same system, but I think that some of the things that he's told to do or how to do things will carry over. And so that's some of the part that might help out. I don't know. We're going to have to see once they get on the practice field. Mo, how do you feel about Andy saying KT is healthy? I think that's Andy just being blatant is what he knows. I don't think Andy's playing games. I think there was some animosity in New York. And like I've said, he's a great talent, but I put in my notes before he was drafted that Kadarius was kind of a knucklehead. He got into some scraps. He had some attitude issues, and I think that was clearly evident with the Giants. So maybe he was holding out on him. I don't know. And maybe that's the reason they traded him. We won't know until we know. But I do think that it's probably more likely that he is healthy and there was some kind of like conflict going on. Oh, I'm way behind in the chat. I got to grab some of those. But Ryan, are we making a trade for Allen or Burns? It seems that that's the rumor, that they're pushing for it. Again, it comes down to, are you going to get value? And I think that they will. And I would like to see it. I think coming out, I thought Burns was a slightly better prospect because of his motor, because of his dip and rip. But Allen fits what Spags wants to do now. Allen has changed his body type. He's become stronger. He's become more of a power guy in the NFL. And so that's more what Spags wants. So I'm guessing they're pushing a little harder that way. And the Broncos might have done the Chiefs a favor by beating them because they made the season that much harder for the Jags. And maybe that means that they're more likely to consider rebooting. I don't know. I'd like to hope so, but I can't say that for real. Everybody say hi to Avery. Make sure you check out his ADI channel. He does a great job. Jaden's in the house. We'll get to him in a little bit as well. If you would like and sub right now, that would really help. We're trying to grow the channel. We're aiming at 30, 35, maybe 40,000. We're just under 25 right now. We got big goals, and we want you guys to be part of it. So jump in there, and we'll get her done. Let's see. Next question. Do you think Tony becomes the punt returner this week against the Titans? It's a good question. I think it's a distinct possibility because as long as he can adapt to what Dave Toub is telling him, technique for being the returner, making the catch, reading what you're getting blocking-wise, it does vary from team to team, but it's not drastic. You can plug in and do that role as a Chief nearly as well as you did as a Giant pretty quickly. And like I said, there's a short that'll come out tomorrow. And I hope you guys are digging the shorts. We're working hard on trying to come up with really, really tight content, whether it's coming from one of the keys in these live streams or it's something that we produce on our own. One of the things that's going to come out tomorrow is that I think that helps not just him, but it helps Pacheco, and I think it helps McCole. I think it does a lot of good things. So my hope, Eric, is that he does become the punt returner right away. If not, I do think that that's his role probably first before anything else. Do you think another 50 touchdown season is possible for Mahomes? Thanks, William. He's a little bit behind that pace, right? No, he's not. He's like at 48. So it's very close. The difference is it's a 17-game season. So I'd have to say, yeah, it's definitely a possibility. Does it end up happening? I think teams are going to eventually adjust and go back to some of those deeper ones, deeper high shells, play more cover 3, try to disguise things, keep everything in front of them. And maybe that turns it into you got to run the ball a little bit more, or maybe it's got to be some things where it's not quite as many passes. Maybe it's him running in. Maybe it's the run game. I don't know. But we'll see. Give me another few weeks. Let's see how he comes out. I really expect him to come out on fire and really bombing away when they start the second half of the season this week. What are we going to do on the D? You're going to get your guys back. Willie's going to, get back in the flow. I thought his presence made a difference already. McDuffie's going to be back. And you're going to hope that you get that push now, that second half push from Chanel, from George Karlaftis, hopefully from Sky as well. Like it's you've had half a season to get ready. Now it's time to start putting that to use and starting to produce. And I think that could happen, Cool Breeze. Scotty, thank you. Which Chief has disappointed you the most this season by not and most deserving of a rant not yet done by Dan? Most disappointed me. I don't know. I think Noddy's taken a step back, particularly against the pass, but even against the run, he's not holding up as well. So I'm a little bit disappointed in that, but I think the season's still young for him, so I'm not too terrible. Do you think that this week the Chiefs use Danny Shelton? I think this is a good week for it, especially when you see what Henry has to do in that offense. If Tannehill misses again and it's got to be Malik Willis, I don't know. You guys, a lot of folks gave me a bunch of grief in the draft cycle when I said Malik Willis is not a top quarterback in this class. From what he's shown right now, he is not. We got to hope that he figures that out for his own sake and for the Titans' sake. But if he's flushed too much, he will tuck that ball and run. He could hurt the Chiefs that way. But you got to guard against their number one strength, and that's Henry, and there's no way around that. So I would like it, Daniel. Hell, they might have signed him just for this game, to tell you the truth. Scott, realistic, honest, not Kool-Aid. Timeline for multiple non-gadget plays to be really implemented for Tony. Non-gadget, that's the key. I think he starts on some jet sweeps. I think he takes some of that from McCole so McCole can concentrate on going downfield. So McCole can concentrate on doing the intermittent drags and hitting those dig routes, hitting the underneath sail stuff so that he can be the guy that the play is designed to open for, rather than him being, hey, this is the nifty gadget kind of thing. So the non-gadget might be until the playoffs. They might just pepper Tony in on the gadget stuff. I'm okay with that. It's just another X weapon that they can't cover. And hey, the more you got of those, the tougher it is on the defense. Dylan, do you guys see that the Dolphins totally stole the goal line sneak play from us? Yeah. I mean, everybody's doing that. Everybody's going back to the underhand toss. That's an old play from the 70s, I want to say. Chiefs just run it super well. In fact, I think Brett Coleman did a video on it about how prevalent it is, and now everyone's running in the league. Like, it's a copycat league. If something works, other teams are going to steal it. It's a given. Did you see the Chiefs? Do you see the Chiefs trading for Allen? Yes, I see them working the phones. Will they get it done? I really can't say that I'm super confident because I know Brett Veach doesn't want to give up a first-round pick. That's what I know in my heart. Can he get talked out of it? I don't know. I don't know. Something tells me it's a possibility. I could be wrong. I'm stacking some other questions here. A couple of super chats. Appreciate you guys. Love the support and very much appreciate all of you. It's hard to believe we've been running this channel 4 years now. There's 25,000 of us. I'm glad that you guys are here, and I appreciate it. Happy Halloween and everything else. For those of you that are heading out for trick-or-treating, be safe out there. Let's see. Back to the questions. Do you see the Chiefs start run blitzing Chanel and Cook over the last half of the year. Chanel, yes. I think Cook, they don't want to put him in too much peril because they do like his coverage skills. And while they have some confidence in Bush, I don't think that they want to risk any more injury or anything like that. They got to be really careful because the second concussion really has a cumulative effect on how many snaps you can play. So I think they're going to hold off on Cook a little bit there. They'll blitz him off the edge, sure, from normal DB nickel type alignments. But run blitzing Cook, I don't think so. I think that's what Chanel's built for, and I hope that they do it more, especially this week. This should be the highlight week for Leo Chanel's rookie year. This week, right now, because he can do what you need him to do to beat this team. Sam, love your vids. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Best guess, do we make another trade before tomorrow's deadline? It feels like they're trying really hard. My gut says they try and they just don't get it done. That's what my gut says. But I know they're trying hard, and I hope that they do. We'll find out tomorrow for sure. Thoughts on Sean Tucker, RB from Syracuse? I've watched one Syracuse game. He didn't stand out to me as anything I needed to go get. I'm sure we'll do the regular rundown through the offseason. And I do think on my schedule, I think I have another game I have to watch of them live. So I'll try to take more notes on that, Tone. But he'll definitely be in our lineup list for sure. I think you guys probably are not surprised by this. I am huge on Zach Charbonnet. He's my guy right now. Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs, they're great. Charbonnet's my dude. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. What do you think of Reed's comments on the trade on Tony? He wasn't his usual coach speak. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's like whenever he kind of goes and gives you a glimpse into what they're thinking, I think that's real because I don't think Andy Reid's like the kind to go off script and lie. You know what I mean? Like he's not trying to contrive answers to not answer the question. When he doesn't want to answer a question, he'll use coach speak or say, I'm just not answering that. We're not talking about that outside the building. It's a perfectly legit answer, and he's happy to do it. So when he does give you a little nugget, a little crumb, I have a tendency to think that that's real. So I'm going to take that as well. And we all know that Andy's got this thing. He's always had this thing where he's happy being second chance coach. He's happy with that because he feels he can give a guy what he maybe didn't have in terms of understanding, in terms of a different way of teaching. I think he's very understanding about the fact some guys learn audibly, some guys learn visually, some guys only learn through repetition. I think he's very cognizant of that. And I think that's one of the reasons players love him because he's able to coach them in a way that works for them. And so I have a tendency to think that, Andy's telling us that Tony has a very different future here than he had in New York. Josh, have you ever watched Chris Abrams' drains from Mizzou? If you could trade Chubb or Browning for the Broncos. Didn't like Browning coming out. Don't like him now. I got nothing. I don't think he helps you that much. I think they've turned him loose on some athleticism and he showed it. He is a good athlete. I just don't see him being a guy that can ascend to the level that he could be a starter for me. Now, in terms of Chubb, yeah, I think he's been underdeveloped, quite frankly. I would like to see him in a Joe Cullen defensive front. I think that'd be fun. Broncos will never trade him to Kansas City, though, so that's not happening. And I have seen Mizzou. I don't remember anything in my notes about Abrams' strength, so I'll have to check that out. I'm sure I'll get more, too, as we go through the season. Do you think Patrick Mahomes and his receiving core is getting better timing and rhythm with each other? I think they're starting to. Certainly, I think he and Juju are starting to pick up the pace. I think MVS got on the page really quickly with him preseason camp, and now they're starting to get back to that. I think when the real bullets fly and the regular season starts, there's still some adjustment. And so I think some of that was still missing a little bit with MVS, but I do think that they're coming around. Finn, glad you're back. Hope you're doing well. Since we always end up in the last four spots of the first draft, how do we get another top O tackle? You trade for it. You trade up just like they did to go get McDuffie, and you get a guy that you like. Now, the problem is I haven't seen anything that makes me want to trade up in the first round for any of these tackles. The class isn't solidified. It's heavy underclassmen as far as guys that I think have a draftable grade in the top 100. So that's what's going to be. The other option is that you go back to free agency. I'll have to take a look at the free agent class, but that might be the way that you have to go. or you might just have to bite the bullet and either give Orlando a deal that's cuttable after a year or re-sign him, refranchise him. Because there just isn't a lot out there in this particular year. This is a good year for defensive ends. I think there's a lot of guys that could play this game. I think that value, 32 to 96 gives you a nice range to get a pass rusher. I don't think it's the same for the tackles, though, and that's what got me a little concerned, man. Bert, glad you're back. Hope you're doing well. If Chiefs to trade for Josh Allen, does that put the Chiefs in the top 10 defense? Not necessarily. It could. It certainly could. Because if they up their pass rush, it helps everything. But the acclimation process is going to be different. Here's the key. Here's the big thing, is Josh Allen has played for Joe Cullen before. He knows what he wants. Whatever's different because it Spags defensive calls, he'll be able to adjust to because Joe Cullen's his coach. He played for him. That's the big advantage. So I think he'll gel rather quickly in that scenario, and we'll know rather quickly if they can get up to the 15 or even the 10 mark. Oregon, I'd be happy with Allen or Buckner. I'm with you. Thoughts on Roquan trade and how Ryan Poles is doing? Ryan started rough. I tried to help him. I had a nice conversation with him once, really quick. And I'm hoping to get back to him because he does need the help. Having to sell off assets is difficult, but it allows you to reset and disperse the value where you see it's best. Look at the Chiefs, the team that he worked for forever. And so you have to think that the Bears' path is going to be similar, right? You pay for the quarterback, you pay for the left tackle, you pay for defensive ends. That's what they pay for. I see the same trend coming. And so a middle linebacker, all pro or not, that's going to demand that kind of money, I think he made the right decision. And honestly, it's probably best for Roquan as well. I like Roquan, so I hope that it does pick him up. Dan, hope you're doing well. If a D or a T was available in the trade and was worthy, would you use Hardman in the trade if they wanted him? That's a tough one because McColl's just starting to really click and become a weapon. But if they had to have him, I would think that you've done enough. And if you traded, got that, you could go out and try to convince OBJ to come in for $3 million and stay under the cap. It's a possibility. Adam 12, thanks for the support. Appreciate you, buddy. Are we trending toward 2 new tackles next year? That all depends on what happens not only this week, but the next month with Lucas Niang. Patellar tendon for a 350-pound man is a very difficult injury to come back for, especially when you think about him and how much he is chest heavy, torso heavy. He's kind of thin in the lower body, right? And that post leg, that post knee that he has to kick back from in order to get his pass set started, that's got to be super strong when you're that top heavy. I think that's a little bit of a concern. And so if he can't get right by the end of the year, end of the regular season, then yeah, you probably are. Thanks, Adam. Ready whip. I'd like to see Pacheco start more today. I think he sets the tone in the run game a little bit better. I won't argue with that. I think it pulls Clyde along as well because he's got to live up to the rookie's, moxie, his attitude. So I like that aspect as well. Should he start more? I think they should kind of keep it, under wraps, like keep him motivated. I'd say I don't have a set starter. I would say there's no set starter for this team. Whoever's the hot hand that week, we're going with it. Meaning you got to practice your butt off and you got to make sure that you come and start hot. That's what I'm looking for. Because then that gives you those hard runs that are in the first 15 just to try to establish it. That means you're getting the best from them more so than what we've seen, in my opinion. So, hey, who knows? And he doesn't generally go like that, so I'm not sure. But that's what I would do. Let's see. A couple of more questions. Stacking them up. Everybody say hi to Stevie. He's in the house now. Let's see. Carrie, thank you for the support and welcome to the memberships. I hope you're having fun. Not a question, but I'm not sure if I told you all that I still have my KC starter jacket that I got in 1996, which was the year that Mahomes was born. Maybe it's all because of you, Carrie. Maybe we have this quarterback because of you and your jacket. I hope so. You know what you should do is send us a picture of that and we'll put it in one of the streams. That would be great. Thanks, Carrie. And thanks for the support. You too, Brendan. Thank you. I appreciate it. I think that we use Hardman as a Debo stand-in when trying to figure out how they defend the 49ers in the red zone. Andy realized it worked and boom, 3 TDs for 17. I that could be part of it, but I will say this too. Andy has a long memory, and I think they held some things back, and maybe we didn't think it was a big game playing the Niners, but they beat him in that Super Bowl, or I mean, they played him in that Super Bowl, and they wanted to make sure they made that point that, hey, we still beat you. We're still that good. We couldn't beat the Bucs. We're going to slaughter them too. But like, I felt like there was a little bit like personal to that game, Brendan. But you're absolutely right. If McColl's on running that stuff, being the Debo, I don't know how much they put him on scout. I could be wrong, but hey, use it what you got. Thanks, Brendan. Appreciate you. Matt, what is the most that you would trade for Allen or Burns and can give a defense be good enough to win a title if we add no one? Great questions, Mac. And Mac's another one of our members. You guys can hang out with him in the Discord when you get joined up. The most I would give up for, let's go Allen because of the fit. The absolute most that I could give up would be a first and a third. I'd probably have to split them years too. I could go a first this year and a third next, especially because I expect to get more compensatory picks. That's the most I could do for either of them. And for Burns, I'm not sure that I would go that high. I'd probably be pushing for either 2 2s or a 2 and a 3. That's where I would have started, is a 2 and a 3 for either of these guys. That's what I would have offered. Now I know that the rumor is the Jags want a first no matter what. I'm not so sure they get it from anyone, to tell you the truth. We'll see what happens. Thanks, Mac. Need a little bit of a drink here. Carolina or Jacksonville. So they'll only do a deal if George is part of the deal. Would you do it? You could target a D in the 23 draft. I mean, I do want somebody a little bit more dynamic if I were drafting him. But George is putting in good effort. He's getting good pressure. And he fits Spags. I don't think they're going to go away from him. Would I consider it? I would listen. But in the end, he's my guy. Imagine this. Chiefs call me next week and they're like, here, come be a consultant. Help us in the draft room. That's what I do. Maybe they want to listen this time. I'm still just part of the cog. You know what I mean? Like, unless he was my guy and I'm the GM and I drafted him, I'm still just part of that wheel, right? That machine. And so if that's the case, he's still our guy. We made a collective decision. We drafted him. He's our guy. So I would have a tendency to want to double down on developing him rather than trading him away after half a season. I can't really see that. Fantasy Broadcasters, welcome. First time I can't believe I can be live. Rock on, because of the time difference. Rock on. I don't know where you are. Do you think that we see Sky and Tony on the field at the end of the regular season? I do. And that's what's scary. I think that's the ever-loving thing, that they can go trip tight ends or they can go trip, super cagey guys and get away from you. Like, I think it's just that much more diversity they can attack teams with. Rob, what do you think about Roquan Smith? I mean, it's funny. Strong gets stronger, right? You already got Queen, and I still like Harrison. Like, that linebacker crew is going to be good there. But can they stop enough passes? I don't know. Like, I feel they're susceptible to the pass. So, like, yes, I think it's a great pickup for them in the style that they run. I don't know if it really helps them win ball games more. We'll see. I have a feeling the Chiefs are going to make a move tomorrow. What do you think? And some analysts still think OBJ is a possibility. Jaden, I agree with you. And everybody check out Jaden's podcast here, TPT Chiefs. The trade doesn't do anything for the OBJ possibilities, especially if it's one of the guys we're talking about that are on a rookie contract. Kadarius was he was $480K against the cap because they paid the first 7 weeks of his salary, which was $755. So he's somewhere just under $500K. Josh Allen would be somewhere around, I think, 1.8 after you subtract what they've already paid him. They can still rework Mahomes. They can still rework Chris. They can get more if they need to. If they want OBJ and a trade, they can still get it done. Do I think they do both? I don't. I think one or the other. But I do think that they want to improve in season. Avery, is CH still a Chief after the deadline passes? Is there anyone you think gets traded off of the roster? I hope that they trade Rojo. He wants to go. He's a small commodity. I don't want to hear him bitching and complaining, so get rid of him. I'm fine with that. You're not happy to be in your role. I can understand that. Go trade him as a throw-in, as collateral to help you get something done that you need to get done. That's about it. You can't go trading away something unless it's a strength. How many strengths do they have extra bodies that they can trade away right now? I don't know. There's many, to tell you the truth. So I do think that CH is still a Chief. I don't think they trade him away. I think they'll let him play out his rookie contract and they'll take a comp pick for him is what they'll do. Swag boy, I feel nervous about the Titans. Changed my mind. Love the show. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoy the show. You should feel nervous because it's the Achilles heel, right? Like they always give up run games. But Frank Clark is healthy, as we know of. Frank Clark hates playing the Titans, hates giving up yards to Derrick Henry. Frank has driven the bus on stopping Henry in the past. I think that happens again. They don't have the firepower in the pass game to keep up. They might have the rookie quarterback in there who took a half to find a target that he could connect with. I think he threw one pass in the second half. If they don't have Tannehill, it's not even a game. What happens to Justin Watson? Because I feel he made the most out of his opportunities when the ball was thrown at him. I agree with you, Derek. And I didn't have him making the roster. I had him the first guy off the roster, meaning wide receiver 7. He changed my mind. He earned his spot. And I think what's more likely to happen is that Najee Johnson is probably the guy that gets cut. It's tough to carry 7 wide receivers, but this team might do it because that's how scary they want to be. And like the thumbnail said on this video, when you have Mahomes, anything you can do to feed him, to help him, to make him that much more scary, you got to do because that's what changes your outcomes. So I don't know that he gets released. He might. It all depends on what they think he can contribute. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. He has made the most of his opportunities. I don't think he's let them down in any way. Oh, you're right, Matthew. I forgot about that. Totally forgot about the suspension. Dang it. See, that's why you guys are here to keep me straight. I'll say this, though. My previous statement still rings true because I'll bet you Frank talked to guys before he left, and I'll bet you he talks to him this week. But you're right. He won't be on the field. Dang, I totally forgot about that. See, this is what happens when it's trade deadline day, and I get all excited about what could be happening. Thanks for setting me straight, Matthew. I appreciate that. Dan is probably going to shake his head when he watches this. He's out with the little one trick-or-treating, so we got to give him the break. But, Derek, I do agree with you. I think Justin Watson's done everything he's asked for. I think he's earned a spot on the roster. Maybe that's temporarily something that he has to be released and brought back to the practice squad until later. I don't know. But I can definitely see him here next year in a role if one of the big guys that can play outside is not. So I think it's a long-term thing for them. They'll figure it out. Doug, is Philly a surprise that they are doing so well? Who are their weapons? It's not much of a surprise to me. I was one of those that was really high on Jalen Hurts. I think he's been given a raw deal his whole career, including Alabama. I was confident in him being able to figure it out. Sirianni's a good coach. It's when they made the acquisition. I think it was a trade. Yeah. Or was it a free agent signing? When A.J. Brown became an Eagle, it was on. And he showed like the height of what he can do with Jalen Hurts this last weekend. Expect a lot more of that, man. Sparge, thanks for the support. Appreciate you. Why do you think that Sky is having a problem with punt returns? He's pretty sure-handed as a wide receiver. And he did do a few kick returns, as I remember, in college, and he was fine. I don't know. I don't know if it's nerves. I don't know. There's been, some sun issues in both that I remember. I think there was some involved. I really just don't know. I really don't care. He doesn't have to be a punt returner. That's not why I drafted him. I drafted him to run routes on the field on the offense. So it doesn't shake my confidence in him. I hope it doesn't shake his own confidence. That's what I would be a little bit more worried about. Dan, how do you feel? Sorry, I'll answer it for him. How do you feel the Chiefs will do against Titans starting running back? Henry's Henry. I don't think he's quite as spry as he used to be. But you got to respect him. I think Leo plays a lot. I think they're in the base with Willie, Nick, and Leo a lot. And I love that. I think if Leo can just not get overexcited and jump gaps, if everybody stays disciplined, if the defensive tackles can maintain their gaps and every does what they're supposed to do as a team, this team defense can be plenty good to slow down Derrick Henry so that he can't beat you by himself. And if he can't beat you by himself, the Titans aren't good enough to beat you as a team. That's just the truth. Let's go, Chiefs. Do you think that Brett Veach will make a trade soon? I think if it happens, it probably happens either late tonight or early tomorrow morning, kind of the overnight thing. They have a tendency to get some of those done and like not announce them till the next day. The deadline is in the afternoon. I don't think they want to run it down to like the bare end. So I do think that they will get something done earlier if they are getting it. Christian, if we can't get anything done with Allen or Burns, do you think Sue would be worth a look? I just don't think Sue has anything left in the tank, to tell you the truth. Cullen may feel differently, and if he does, then I defer to his opinion, of course. But I just, from what I've seen the last couple of times I saw him on the field, I just don't see it. I just don't think he has anything that can actually help. For depth, if for nothing else, then okay. Because if Colin got hurt or Chris got hurt, you're in a world of trouble. Because Stallworth doesn't have nothing to offer. I regret that signing more than I thought I was going to. Without Turk, like you're thin at that role. Danny Shelton doesn't give you any pass rush. Derek isn't giving you any pass rush. You got to get something. But thank you for the support as well, Christian. Laddie, thank you again. Is the future of the wide receiver position in the hands of Tony and Moore? Not solely, but it looks like that's what they're trying to find out. I think they're going to put a lot of effort into those two guys in development, in chance taking, in patience with the punt return thing. Because I think that they want those two guys to be kind of dual inside targets that can extend Travis's career, B, do each in part some of the yak things that Tyreek did. Nobody's going to be the complete package as Tyreek. I don't think there's ever going to be another one, to tell you the truth, that has that fast straight line speed and that change of direction and that yak ability. But they're hoping they can get 2 or 3 in those guys. Then add a big target outside, add a speed target on the other side. I really like what Juju's brought to this offense so far. I think there's more to go, but I think he could be the guy that sticks. Watson could replace MVS eventually, possibly. MVS could turn it around and be the guy that I thought he was going to be in the beginning of the year, where I thought he was going to lead this team in yardage. So that's still a possibility too. There's a lot of options on the table, but yes, I think Tony and Moore is where they want to go. They want to have, Andy's always liked an undersized receiver that he feels he can exploit underneath coverage and middle coverage against high safeties. I think that's what they want to do. Would you send a second and a fourth in the 24 draft for Allen? Tomorrow, today, tonight, I'll hand deliver it. I'll get on the plane now, Chris. Absolutely. A second and a fourth for Josh Allen. I will walk down to Jacksonville. It'll be really slow, but I'll get there. What will it take to get Allen? If some team's really desperate, they could get a first round pick for him. I think a first and a second is probably the top that anybody's going to give. And I don't think that there's a whole lot that really want to do the first round picks. So it's going to be a negotiation back and forth with probably multiple teams. That's probably what's happening right now. I don't think Brett Veach is out trick-or-treating either. He's not listening to this stream, I'm sure. But I'm guessing he's in front of some screen doing some kind of like conference talk, Zoom, whatever, trying to get this ready. Because I do think he wants to do it. Sorry, guys. I'm going to kick this spam that the automatic system didn't catch. Bear with me just a minute. Let's see. Got it, Justin. Thank you for pointing that out. Appreciate you. There's another one, and that. Let me get a couple of super chats here into the mix. A couple more questions. We might go a little bit over, you guys. I don't think I can finish everything in the time that we have, but we're going to get close. So last call for super chats. Get them in, and we'll go through what we have right now. That was John's. Thank you, John. Big Dave, thank you. Sorry to be late to the party, but could Hardman be on the block with Tony trade and today's signing of Daz Newsome? Anything's possible. And quite frankly, I don't know that McColl's value has been any higher after a given week since his rookie year. That performance was big. And maybe that's got teams making grandiose valuations of what he can do from them. And if a team's going to overpay because McColl's in it, or overpay for the portion of a trade that is McColl, you got to think about it from an overall team standpoint. You got to think about that. I don't think that's the way that it goes, but it's certainly a possibility. That game was a big step forward for him on the national stage, and maybe somebody's ready to pay for that. Woohoo! Really, that many followers? I was here when there was 50 of us. Yo, geez, Scott, I appreciate that. I'm glad that you enjoy the content. I know it's kind of morphed over the years. And right now with the shorts content and stuff, we're morphing again, trying to roll with the punches. We're not the normal like entertainment channel. Go check out How About Them Chiefs, because Cole does a great job and he's great at the entertainment angle. We're hardcore evaluation film football guys. So it's not quite the same in today's market, but we try to give you a little bit of everything. And I'm trying to loosen up a little bit, okay? So I'm working on it. But glad you're here, Scott. It's good to see you. Laddie, personally, I think it's the better fit is Allen. That's probably the way they go. I like Burns too, though. And I miss a little bit of a speed rush. I miss having somebody that was, we're all chasing Derek Thomas still, right? We want speed rush and power. We want somebody that can long pull and get around the edge. Like it's not as easy as it used to be. I think Burns might have the higher upside in that regard, but right now Allen's the better player overall. I think particularly in Spag's eyes. So you think the slants and screens and plays like that Andy will do for Tony? I do, and I think you're going to see some of the angle routes out of the slot. I'd love to see them line him up in the backfield as an H-back, like right behind Travis off to the side a little bit. Like I think that's a great spot for him to kind of get lost in some of the linebacker level coverage. And if they don't put a dedicated safety on him, I think he breaks loose and gets all kinds of yak. That's exactly what I would do with him. Thank you, Norma. Appreciate you. Thanks for the super sticker. And Tom, thank you. Do you see our wide receiver room with Kadarius in there now? The best in the league come playoff time? Where will he be? Where will the defense be? The top 10? And what's the status on the DN? Best in the league? I don't know that I can say that. Deepest? Yes. Can easily be the deepest. It depends on what the ceiling is for Juju and MVS, because they have to be the top two guys. If that doesn't happen, something's gone wrong. But they will easily be the deepest wide receiver room. As far as top 10 defense, if they secure the defensive end, they have that ability. If they can get to the passer, if they can double their pressure rate or even get a 50% bump in their sack rate, they can be a top 10 defense. But that's not only getting a guy that has the ability, it's coaching him up and getting the performance out of him. There are two parts of a bigger whole that both have to happen. Thanks, Tom. And Stevie, you guys, you can check him out over at Back Talk Bros, their own channel. And every now and then you can see him on here as well. Timing's kind of a pain in the season. I understand that. So it's been a little bit, but check out Stevie and the guys. If no Allen Burns and they're willing, and if the Saints are willing, trade CEH for picks for Cam Jordan and Alvin Kamara. Would you? Why or why not? Whew. Would I? I think I'd have to if the compensation wasn't outrageous. Kamara is a guy that fits this offense. He can run when he has to, works in the pass game, can create on his own. Cam Jordan's sees the end of his career. He hasn't produced as much pressure this year. I just looked this up yesterday. He has not produced as much pressure this season as Frank Clark has. That's a problem. So, like, I could take him if I needed to, but then that slows down Karlotz's progression, that kind of stuff. I mean, overall, if it wasn't crazy and I didn't have to give up a first-round pick for this trade, if it was, CEH in a third, sure. If CEH in a second, I start to panic. CEH in a first, I ain't doing it. Neither of those guys are worth it. Again, Kamar's an elite player at his position. I just don't care about the running back to give up a top 100 pick plus a player. Certainly not a top 32. Thanks, Stevie. Let us know what you think too. And you guys, you can watch over there at Bocktop Rose too. So trade and OBJ is realistic. It's a possibility. I didn't say it was realistic. I really don't think, I think they do one or the other. I don't think they do both, but it is a possibility specifically designed on what the compensation is for that player. Now, Kadarius is super, super cheap. Allen will be more because he's a year further on and he was a higher draft pick, but it is still a possibility. And they can wrangle a little bit more cap space out of restructuring Jones or Mahomes. They did Kels. They could maybe restructure Tooney. He seems like a guy that would do that. I don't think they get a lot if they did that because I don't think his base is really big. So we'd have to check that. I'm sure Chris Clark can run that down for us. He is the cap guru. Okay, let's check and see what other questions and super chats we have. And then we will get ready to finish it out. Kamara. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. A lot of people like the Kamara idea. Stevie, you hit it on the head, buddy. All right, cool. I think wait, there's one more from Laddie, I think. Or no, Jason. Let me start that one. Remember those days when I used to do? This is what I was doing, is trying to hunt out all the questions. So Kyle had another one. Why is Bill's run D so bad? Are they just soft finesse, or does McDermott not care because it's hard to match 27 plus points just running the ball? That's the majority of it. I don't think they're soft. They are young. Ed Oliver, Phillips left. He was kind of the older hat around there. That you got Russo. Like, they are young and they come from programs that was pass rush only and they didn't stop the run for nothing. I don't think it's a McDermott thing. But I do think that he isn't like overcompensating because I don't think that he thinks the run can hurt them enough. Much like Spags doesn't think that the run can hurt Chiefs enough because they have the quarterback on the other side that could put up, points at will, basically. I mean, honestly, for either defense, if you keep a team under 28, you should win every week, hands in, overdone, not a deal. So I do think that's what it is, Kyle. Thanks for the question. Philip, speaking of Leo, I saw some data on him. He is dominant in the punt game. Yeah, he's been covering really well. I haven't seen data points on it. But I've seen that he's in there. He's not getting all the tackles, but he's making a pretty good number. For a linebacker level, he's replaced what Sorensen did as a safety. So, like, just in terms of raw speed and that kind of thing, you would think that that's a little bit out of sorts. He's doing a good job there. Info, hope you're good, man. Call me crazy, but trading Hardman would be good. Give Sky Tony Watson snaps to grow. True. He's probably gone next year anyways. What pick would he get? That's the big question. If you're trying to get Allen, he maybe gets you around. So if they say, we want a first rounder and a fourth for Allen, and you're like, I'll give you a second and McCole, and I'll give you a fifth. That might get it done. Because the thing that you got to remember specifically about Jacksonville is they have a number one overall quarterback there that doesn't have enough help. They couldn't move the ball very well against the Broncos. And the Broncos defense is not what it was 2 years ago. So, like, anything you can do to help him, I think you do. I think McCole could be part of that. McCole and Christian Kirk, they give you some options in terms of speed underneath, what they're able to do with the ball in their hands. I think that could be attractive to them. So it's just the art of making a deal. Give them what they need without giving up what you need. Help both teams in a way that doesn't bankrupt either of you. That's the hard part. I mean, for those of you that play a ton of fantasy, making trades is always tough because you don't want to give up too much, but you got to give up something to get something. So it's really about mixing and matching. The Chiefs have depth at wide receiver, so it could do a lot of those things. Okay, grabbing right now the last of the questions. We'll answer them, and we will call it a night so all you trick-or-treaters can get out there, and my kids will stop pounding on the door that's behind me that you guys can't see. All right. Excuse me. Tom, I think stopping Tennessee coming up will be depending on Gay Bolton Snead and other to stop the motor. We've done it before with Spag's game plan. I agree with you. And you bring up a really good point because Snead is great against the run from the DB spot. Game Bolton, yes, but this is what Chanel is here for. This is his bread and butter. This is what he excelled at Wisconsin. Is not necessarily just mugging and blitzing A-gaps, but just run fits in general. He's very good against the run. So I do think it will be all three of the linebackers. You're absolutely right, though, Tom, and thanks for the support. Appreciate you. Tom, thank you. Very much appreciated. Long time. No see. Glad you're back, dude. Miss you guys. We miss you too. What do you need more to make a run to the Super Bowl? OT help or DE help? Let's put it this way. What are you guys more scared of right now? That the Buffalo Bills will stop the Chiefs from scoring 30 or that Josh Allen will go score 35? Because for me, it's the defense. So I think it's more important to get the defensive help. Now, that said, if you just can't get a deal, and this is what I think went into Tony, and if it happens and they don't get a trade done, they do sign OBJ, this is why. Because they wanted to get defense done and they couldn't make a deal because they wouldn't give up a first-round pick or multiples, or they couldn't get compensation, or some other team was willing to overpay for Burns or Allen or Cam Jordan or whatever. And so they couldn't get it done. And so if you can't improve your defense just because the value and the opportunity and the trade isn't there, you make a strength stronger by adding weapons in Tony and eventually OBJ. And in that way, you have at least, instead of, you'd like, this is offense, this is defense, you'd like to raise the defense up, right? If you can't do that, at least you've done this and you've raised the offense and now puts more pressure on the opposing offense. And so if you can then just scheme it, if you can get developing players, there's a lot of rookie snaps on this defense. If you can push that, if you can develop that, you can improve there some. So for me, it's defense. But I think that's what the Chiefs think. I'm not 100% that they agree. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate your support as always. Welcome back. What do you think about Brady and the client, or is it more what's going on behind closed doors? Yeah, he just got divorced. I think it's a bit of both. I think it's a concentration factor that is leading to the fact that he can't go on autopilot like he did when he was 40 or less, where muscle memory took over and those kind of things. I think everything is more deliberate for a 45-year-old than it is for a 38-year-old. And that distraction, that turmoil in your personal life makes it harder for him to just go out and play. I think it's a combination, Chris. Rasheem Green, the Texans DE, he's only on a one-year deal for 3.25. I didn't realize that. I don't know that he gets much pressure either. I'd have to look up his stats, Mike. I haven't checked lately. Brian, do you think KC will give a first-round pick with the draft in KC? I don't think the fact that the draft's in KC matters at all to the team. In fact, if anything, I think they'd rather get a player that improves their team and they can just party night one, be the hosts and be out there in front of the cameras. And bring more attention to the city and more attention to the franchise. I don't think that means anything to them. Jason, do you think that Hunt told Veach, don't trade our number one since we're hosting the draft? Or do you think it'll be fine giving him? I don't think it matters out. I don't think Hunt is going to say anything about the draft picks, period. I think he's learned that with Andy and Veach, they've gotten them the Super Bowl. They've gotten them back. I mean, look what happened to the Bucks. Look what happened to the Niners. Chiefs keep going back to championship games and Super Bowls while other teams take one shot and fall away. He can't be upset with anything that he's seen from these two anytime soon. So I don't think he's going to meddle and put a foot down about what they do with the draft selections, even the number ones. Seth, I kind of feel like the Patriots already showed us how to build and maintain a dynasty, and giving up draft picks was not part of what they did. Am I thinking wrong? Not necessarily, but I think what the split of Brady and Belichick has shown us is that neither of them can do it by themselves. They were successful in a dynasty together. Belichick cannot play quarterback, and he hasn't been able to get a quarterback to play well enough to win again. Brady got lucky that the Bucs sold out, took Gronk, built their defense so that he didn't have to be the guy, and won. Incredible game plan from Todd Bowles, won them a Super Bowl. I don't think that that's repeatable in any way, shape, or form. Now, Bill has given up a lot of draft picks, and he's also wasted a bunch of draft picks on terrible picks like N'Keal Harry. So I don't know that that really means as much as it sounds like it should. I think at the end of the day, you do what you have to do to get players. And unfortunately, every team's a little bit different. You gave up the draft picks to get Orlando because you couldn't get Trent Williams. If they'd gotten Trent Williams, we'd be in a much different spot here. And they wanted to do that. They wanted to do what the Patriots used to do and spend money on older veteran players that they know can come out and perform. Maybe they aren't elite anymore, but they know they can come out and perform. That didn't work out. They couldn't get the deal done. So they go with a young guy that had more question marks. Now that hasn't really worked out. I don't think that that means that they're not trying to. And I don't think that that means it's the only way to get it done. So in the end, I think they'll piece it together their way. And as long as you put up more points than the other team, you win. At the end of the day, I don't care what I don't think they care whether they win by 1 point or 1,000 points, as long as they get the W's. Justin, thank you for the support, buddy. Just keep the stream going. What are our chances of a Super Bowl appearance? Bills scare me. I think it comes down to them. As we discussed last night on the breakdown, if you guys missed it, go back and check out the breakdown. I estimate that they lose one more game. There's a distinct possibility they could lose two if they sleep on somebody again. There's also a distinct possibility they could go undefeated down the stretch and be 15-2 when this regular season's over. It's very much there. They are just as good as the Bills. It just means you got to come to play and you got to be a little more adaptive in your game plan. Now, Chiefs are deeper at some key spots. If the Bills have injuries on their defensive line or their wide receiver group, they're in trouble. So I think they've done a good job of matching it up there. I think it's right now, I think it's 50-50 if they can make a Super Bowl. I think it's 75% that they can make a championship game in the AFC and play those Bills. And hey, Reaper 2.0, I'm here for it. Thanks, Justin. Extend Chris Jones to create cap space if possible. Yes, that is one of the scenarios. And in the long run, you want Chris here anyway. I think he's shown, even despite the last negotiation for his contract, that they want him here. He's shown that he wants to be here and stay achieve his whole career. I think they should do it. What would it take for the Chiefs to get the AFC first round bye? It would take them winning out and the Bills losing 2 games. Or the Bills losing 3 games and the Chiefs lose 1. That's what it would take. Because right now they're 2 behind. If they tie, the Bills will beat them every time because they beat them head-to-head. So they have to have 2 losses that the Chiefs don't have going forward. Tall order, man. Tall order. Cole, welcome back. Another one of our mods. Everybody say hi to Cole. Just getting here. Do you expect the Chiefs to make any more moves before the deadline? I do think that they're trying. I hope that they can pull it off. I'm not 100% on that. I think it is possible. I think it's just luck of the draw. And honestly, I think it may hinge right now in regards to Allen. I think it may hinge on whether somebody else is really committed to going and get him. Because if there's not another team that is truly committed to giving up a first, I think the Chiefs can get it done. Okay, answered that. Okay, you got some of the stragglers. The second wave is here. Welcome, you second waivers. We're just about to wrap up, and I've answered most of the questions you guys are asking. So I'll just hit them here real quick to hit the big ones. What will Juju cost next year? I think right now he's probably going to be an $8 million a year guy. If he goes off, he's going to be more expensive, Gary. So we'll see. And Matthew, I know you just got here too. Is Odell still on the table? As of right now, yes, he is. If they get a trade done, like for Allen, that's going to cost, I want to say 1.8 after prorating, then they're probably out of room, unless he just wants to play for peanuts, which I don't see him doing. Okay, that's it. I think I've answered all the questions. I got all the super chats. We are good. Go get your candy. Enjoy your time with your kids, or if you are a kid, go get your candy. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you guys. We have all kinds of content coming just like we always do. Let us know what you want to see in the comments. Tell me what you want. Do you want more film? Do you want more stats breakdowns? Do you want me to do something different? Do you want the guys to do something different? We have Jason coming back. We're going to have the game plan and the primer. We got it all. I'm excited. It's Tennessee Titans week. We're going to have a good time. You guys have a good night. We'll be back with you tomorrow.